Well, I didn't think this was going to be the comeback video I was going to make for the channel, but here we are. I'll make a true comeback video at some point later. Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racers, created by the Kart crew, released earlier today, the 25th of April. The dev team for Ring Racers also worked on SRB2 and the prior kart game, SRB2K. I'll do my best to keep this video relatively short as the game just came out at the time of recording this, and I myself am still exploring everything it has to offer, so this is more of a first impressions video. Real quick, before we get into Ring Racers, let's talk about what it was based on. SRB2K. What a game. SRB2K was essentially a Mario Kart clone, but with a Sonic twist. The game was easy to pick up and play, relatively easy to mod, and, if you know how to port forward, play online. It was like playing Mario Kart 8 on the Switch, but without having to pay for a crummy online system. The core game was relatively easy to mod to hell and back, so honestly, the content you could get for it was infinite. The constant replayability of it was great, as well as the fact of since it was on the Doom engine, it was relatively easy to mod. So when a new game was announced to be in the works, I was so hyped, and now that it's finally here, I noticed a lot of SRB2K fans aren't as ecstatic as they once were for the title, myself included. So let's talk about the good before we get into the negative. The game runs like butter, with no lag from what I've played at least. The visuals are really cool, even allowing it to have a CRT filter over it. It's really cool, and I appreciate the attention to detail with the style. It really feels like an old game. The visuals with the way that things are modeled in the game are downright pretty. The sprite work is intensely stellar. The writing for the game itself actually is also really well done. There's a lot of writing in the tutorial and it's pretty fun and solid. Speaking of the tutorial, it's mandatory. You'd assume if it's a kart game, you wouldn't really need a tutorial, as usually you would just get your grubby old mitts on it and go. However, with this one, it's mandatory. Why? Because there were a lot of mechanics introduced, ranging from the Insta-Shield from Sonic 3 to a new ring system. There's also a trick system now with different effects depending on what button input. It's pretty cool. They even added a spin dash. There's also this beam thing, but I kind of forgot the name of it. With that whole beam thing, you're actually able to go right through it if you have enough speed. If you don't, it's just gonna hit you against the wall. Though with all these mechanics, here's where a lot of the issues come into play. The fun part of the original was the fact it was so easy to boot up and play without needing to think that much, or learn a lot. It was just Mario Kart, plain and simple. A lot of the tutorial, though really cute and visually breathtaking, feels unnecessary, and the charm's the only thing that it really has going for it, at least in my opinion. There's a section of the tutorial that shows how the SPB works, which is the equivalent of the bunny shell from Mario Kart. Which isn't necessarily a bad idea to show in a tutorial, but it's just unnecessary and could have been shown in the main game just by playing it. The tutorial itself feels like it drags on forever. Depending on how long you take to grasp its gimmicks, it'll take around 40-ish minutes to an hour. It continues to tease as if it's going to end, oh, you're loading a new area, just for it to continue. It feels like what they were trying to do is what CTR did, which was have a campaign mode. But if that's the case, why make that part in the tutorial? Make a hub world or something. It's where you can talk to the characters in the karts to do missions, and have simply walking around the hub be how you learn how to play the game without needing to do the tutorial. Speaking of missions, they've locked the online play and modding features of the original game behind missions. Not sure why they did this, as it was the core appeal of the original and why it was so good to begin with. Besides that, playing the game itself is a mixed bag. Honestly, I just end up reverting to the old way I used to play SRB2K instead of engaging with a lot of its new mechanics. The only one I really mess with is the ring one. It's not bad, as it allows you to keep your speed going, which is honestly kind of cool. But I still prefer the original way it was done, which was just the coin system from Mario Kart. At points, a lot of the things just feel unnecessary, and as if the team said, how do we Sonicify this specific thing? They removed charging at the beginning of the race in favor for the spin dash, but I've not used it once in the game besides at the beginning of the race. Every time I press the spin dash button, I feel like I'm going to back up, but I just end up getting smacked into the starting line, which causes a penalty and means I have to start later than everyone else. The spin dash already has a feature to where if you hold it, what happens is you just explode. Sometimes it just feels like the best course of action is just to wait for the game to allow you to play it. Like, game, could I have a turn?
Nah, I don't wanna.
A lot of the gimmicks feel half-baked, with the core game barely needing you to use it. You can honestly just use your OG knowledge of SRB2K, but just add on the ring system, and you'll probably be fine. There are instances to this game where they make you feel like a goddamn superhero zooming through, and then you just feel like a goddamn caveman, bouncing off walls trying to figure out what's going on, scrambling to realize, uh-oh, you're now in 6th. I'm glad the chaos is still here from SRP2K, but it feels ramped up in a way that's unplayable at times. As I was recording the lines for this video, I found a video that kind of sums up the chaotic nature of this game now. Credits to the diverting one for this footage. Oh my god, is it so funny, but dear Neptune does it look painful. Overall, it's still a relatively solid game with stellar visuals, a great song selection, and of course, butter controls with new courses that look gorgeous. But bloated mechanics that the game has potential to use, but seems it could be fixed with modding or involvement with the dev team to kind of bake and finish. I'm sure all these issues can be rectified, but it is launch day still, so we can't complain too much. It's a free game, so get out there and try it yourself. I'll dump the link in the description. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about the bonus minigame per round. Yeah, they're pretty good. Thank you for watching this video, of course. This was quite a speed run to make, so sorry if it ain't ground-breaking, but I guess it's as good as anything.